If you've ever wondered where the people of India came from, the Indians according to the Bible, now I'll ask you another question along with this question. Have you ever asked yourself where the Gypsies came from? These very mysterious people have a very curious people. Well, let's find out now then, according to the Bible genetics, the history of the people and ethnicities where the Indians came from and where the Gypsy people came from. These mysterious people, and then the second, the Vedic texts or texts of the Vedas of the Indians tell us that they faced and fought against a people called Desha, the Indus civilization, who are described as having black skin. The native people of India have a black skin tone, which in itself already shows the origin of the descendants of Noah's sons, from where they came from Khan's part in the Hamites, the people living in southern India, who are native to India, i.e. originally the people of India are descendants of the Hamites. In other words, originally the Indians are from the Swede Hamites. In other words, they were Kamites because of their skin tone. But there is a strong miscegenation of an ethnic group of people of light skin who called themselves Aryans, without any doubts already made. A tribe already made of white people with light eyes who in 1,700 years before Christ, that is, 3,700 years ago, this tribe already formed, which also originated other peoples because of the mixing that occurred between them. Divided India due to the mixing of miscegenation in the ethnic sense. Divided India, placing North India of peoples with lighter skin tone. Lighter skin tone and southern Indian people are darker. That is, northern India was a region of people due to the strong and miscegenation of people with lighter skin and lighter eyes, they being eyes blue or even greener eyes due to this tribe, already done to have mixed with the Indian people, which resulted in a strong miscegenation of the people there. For example, in this image, which is a black woman with blue eyes, which demonstrates this mixture. That is, this miscegenation that occurred before in India in 1700 before Christ and 500 BC. The light-skinned Aryan invaders dominated India. That is, the Indians are a mixture of the countryside and faith. And it is important to highlight here that the father of Asians also had a small amount of influence on some people's Indians. This Asian portion of Togarma could have come even earlier. Aryana already made in 1700 BC, in 1700 BC, because many Indians with black skin already had their hair straighter, which demonstrates this origin. In other words, Indians are originally descendants of Kam because of their skin tone. Originally, a skin tone is black. Originally, they are descendants of the sons of Noah on the part of the descendants of the sons of Ham, and also due to the strong miscegenation with the Aryan peoples of light skin and light eyes, ending up forming India, with the northern part of white and yellow-brown people, the southern part of people with darker skin tones, black pen. But now about the origin of the Gypsy people. About the origin of this mysterious people. The Gypsies are the settled in European countries and go to Brazil among other countries like Turkey, Egypt. Despite being nomadic people, the origin of these people is a great mystery. But now I'm going to tell you, origin of the Gypsy people. But before continuing with the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video and leave your like. It's very important for the channel, so let's go. So what would be the real origin of the Gypsy people? Gypsy people were for many centuries a great mystery if you knew basically nothing, and that or because the language of the Gypsies Romani was a single line language and has no writing, and because of many Gypsies' customs of forgetting the past and burned basically everything about the past. It was very complicated to know the origin of this people or these people. Many speculated over the centuries where the Gypsies came from. Did they come from Egypt or perhaps from Persia or Morocco or Romania, Albania, or even the empire of the Ottoman Empire? Many people said, and they spoke, they speculated where the region in which these people were predominant would be, where they really came from, right? It was all very controversial about these people, but over time, from the 18th century onwards, Europeans acquired the study of languages, of the Gypsies or the Romani language in a more systematic way, and determined that the speech of the European Gypsies belongs to the Aryan branch, and to the branch of Indo-European languages. That is, Indo-European languages or languages from regions such as Persia and mainly India. That is, linguistic researchers determined that the Gypsy language, Romani, was actually a language that was spoken in northern India. That is, by itself. This already ended up speaking the primary origin of the Gypsy people, which is actually in northern India. That is, the Indian language and its variant languages, because other languages came over time from the Romani language, the language of the Gypsies. They were actually very sensitive and had aspects in several words, and they identified that in fact the language of the Gypsies came from India, of North India more specifically. Speaking over time, because they are a nomadic people, they ended up migrating from country to country, state to state, and so on. They ended up moving from regions to other places. They ended up mixing a little with other people, like example, the people of Persia and even the Arabs, who even more adopted their way of moving from one place to another, because the people, Arabs and Bedouins, they have the habit of always moving from one region to another, right? So they ended up having a certain percentage of Persians, right? Because there are Gypsies and the men in Turkey, in Egypt, in other regions also there in the locality. But this one there was very little mixing. It was not a predominantly mix. Their origins still remain from North India. That is, in fact, an Indian people, right? A people of Indian origin. In fact, the Gypsies are a people from India, or an Indian people who mixed there with Persians and Arabs, and then went to Europe in the Iberian Peninsula, among other regions of Europe, until they arrived even here in Brazil, where there are many Gypsies. There are 3 large branches or groups of Gypsies, the so-called Ram, the Kalan, and the following is the first document about the Gypsies. It was only recorded in 1426, and this was already mentioned in ancient Persian texts. But what made the origin of the Gypsies certain was the genetic tests, the great genetic tests carried out to discover, after all, with certainty, what the origin of the Gypsies actually was. This genetic study was carried out in 2012 and published in a scientific journal, where 157 individuals from 13 different groups of Gypsies had their DNA analyzed, and the connections, as expected, were the same as those of the linguistic analyses. All the results were as the starting point, and their descendants were India. According to the Gypsies' genetic tests, they traced its origin directly from North India, in the region more specifically of Punjab near Pakistan, and India in North India. Now, because they came from North India and went to various places around the world, because it is believed that they fled from North India because the armies of Sultan Mahmud were invaded the lands where they lived. The first Gypsies to arrive here in Brazil were the Kalam in 574, coming from Portugal and Spain. Then came the Roma from Turkey and Greece, and then the Sint from Germany. After the Second World War, that is, the biblical origin of the Gypsy people. So it comes from the descendants of Japheth, as they come directly from North India, where they have a lighter skin tone, but they also have it. And their descendants who live in wide do many of the Gypsies has a brownish skin tone, brown skin tone, whether it is light or darker, that is, denoting their origin there. They are descendants of Japheth and also descendants of Khan. This is the biblical origin of the Indian people and Gypsy people according to the Bible. If you liked this video, share it with your family, friends, and subscribe to my channel. May God bless you mightily. I'll wait for you in the next video. A big hug.